Penguin Random House Audio presents The Night House, a novel, by Joe Nesbo. Translated from the Norwegian by Neil Smith. Read for you by Michael Crouch. Part 1. Chapter 1. You're crazy, Tom said, and I could tell he was scared, seeing as he stammered one more time than he usually does. I was still holding the Luke Skywalker figure above my head, ready to throw it upstream, against the current. A scream echoed from within the dense forest that surrounded the river on both sides, as if in warning. It sounded like a crow, but I wasn't about to let myself be deterred by either toms or crows. I wanted to see if Luke Skywalker could swim, so now he was flying through the air. The spring sun had sunk toward the tops of the trees that had just come into leaf, and every now and then the light glinted off the slowly rotating figure. Luke hit the water with a small plop, so he definitely couldn't fly. We couldn't see him, just the rippling circles on the surface of the river, which was running high with meltwater and made me think of a thick boa constrictor, an anaconda, slithering toward us. I had moved to live with my relatives in this little shithole last year, just after my 14th birthday, and I had no idea what shitty little kids in shitholes like Ballantyne did to stop themselves from being bored to death. But seeing as Tom had told me that now, in the spring, the river was scary and dangerous, and that he had been given strict orders at home to stay away, that gave me somewhere to start at least. It hadn't been particularly hard to persuade Tom, because he was like me, friendless and a member of the pariah caste in class. During a break earlier today, Fatso told me about castes, only he said I was in the piranha caste, and that made me think of those fish that look like they have saw blades for teeth and can strip the flesh from an ox in a matter of minutes, so I couldn't help thinking it sounded like a pretty cool caste. It wasn't until Fatso said that I and my caste were lower than him, the big lard ass, that I was obliged to hit him. Unfortunately, he told our teacher, Miss Birdsong, as I call her, and she gave the class a long lecture about being kind and what happened to people who weren't kind. The short version is that they end up losers. And after that, there was basically no doubt that the new bully from the city belonged in the piranha caste. After school, Tom and I had gone down to the river and out onto the little wooden bridge in the forest. When I got Luke Skywalker out of my bag, Tom's eyes opened wide. Where did you get that? Where do you think, meathead? You didn't buy it at Oscar's. They've sold out. Oscar's? That little rat hole? I laughed. Maybe I bought it in the city before I moved here, from a proper toy store. No, because that one's this year's model. I looked at Luke more closely. Was it true that the same figure had been issued in a new version? Wasn't Luke Skywalker the same stupid hero Luke Skywalker the whole time, forever and ever, amen? I'd never thought about that. That things could change. That Darth and Luke could change places, for instance. Maybe I got hold of a prototype, I said. Tom looked like I'd hit him. I guess he didn't like me imitating his stammer. I didn't like it either. I just couldn't help it. It's always been like that. If people didn't already dislike me, I soon made sure that they did. It's the same sort of reflex that made people like Karen and Oscar Jr. smile and be nice so that everyone liked them, only the opposite. It wasn't that I didn't want to be liked. It was just that I knew they weren't going to like me anyway. So I kind of preempted them. I got them to dislike me on my terms. So they hated me. But at the same time, they were a bit scared of me and didn't dare mess with me. Like now, when I could see that Tom knew I'd stolen the Luke figure, but didn't actually dare say so out loud. I had taken it during the class party at Oscar Jr.'s house, where everyone, even those of us in the piranha caste, was invited. The house was okay. It wasn't so big and fancy that it was a problem, but the most irritating thing was that Oscar's parents were so overbearing, and the whole place was full of the very coolest toys. The best toy store a father could ever provide, basically. Transformers figures, Atari games, Magic 8-Ball, even a Nintendo Game Boy, although that wasn't actually on the market yet. What would Oscar care if he lost one of those toys? He'd hardly even notice. Okay, maybe he would care if he lost the Luke Skywalker figure I had spotted tucked up in his bed like a stuffed animal. I mean, how childish can you get? There it is, Tom was pointing. Luke's head was above water, and he was drifting toward us rapidly, as if he were doing the backstroke in the river. Good for Luke, I said. The figure disappeared under the bridge. We moved to the other side, and he reappeared, looking up at us with that stupid half-smile. Stupid because heroes aren't supposed to smile. They're supposed to fight. They're supposed to have tough fighters' faces. They're supposed to show that they hate their enemies as much as they hate whatever. We stood and watched as Luke drifted away from us, toward the world out there, toward the unknown, toward the darkness, I thought. What do we do now? I asked. I already had ants in my pants, and I needed to get rid of them, and the only way for that to happen was if something happened, something that made me think about something else. I have to go home, Tom said. Not yet, I said. Follow me. I don't know why I found myself thinking about the telephone booth that stood on the hill next to the main road at the edge of the forest. It was a strange place to put a phone booth in somewhere as small as Ballantyne, and I had never seen anyone use it. I'd hardly ever seen anyone near it, just the occasional car. By the time we reached the red telephone booth, the sun had sunk even lower. It was so early in the spring that it still got dark early. Tom was trudging reluctantly after me. He probably didn't dare contradict me, and, as I said, neither of us was exactly drowning in friends. We squeezed into the phone booth, and the sounds of the world outside became muffled when the door closed behind us. A truck with muddy tires and huge logs sticking off the end of its trailer passed by. It disappeared along the main road, which ran like a straight line through the flat, monotonous, arable landscape, past the town and off toward the county line. There was a yellow phone book on the shelf beneath the payphone. It wasn't very thick, but it was evidently enough to contain the numbers of all the phones not only in Ballantyne, but the entire county. I started leafing through it. Tom looked demonstratively at his watch. I promised to be home by— Shh, I said. My finger had stopped on a Jonathan Ainu. Weird name. Probably a weirdo. I lifted the receiver, which was fixed to the payphone with a metal cable, as if they were afraid someone was going to run off with the gray receiver. I tapped Jonathan Ainu's number onto the shiny metal buttons on the box. Only 7 digits. We used to have 10 in the city, but I suppose they didn't need any more out here, seeing as there were 4,000 trees for every inhabitant. Then I passed the receiver to Tom. Huh? He simply said, staring at me in terror. Say, "Hi, I'm you. I'm the devil, and I'm inviting you to hell, because that's where you belong." Tom just shook his head and passed the receiver back to me. "Do it, meathead, or I'll throw you in the river," I said. Tom, the smallest boy in the class, cowered and became even smaller. "I'm kidding," I said, laughing. My laugh sounded alien even to me in the cramped, vacuum-like phone booth. "Come on, Tom. Think how funny it will be when we tell the others about it at school tomorrow." I saw something stir inside him, the thought of impressing people. For someone who had never impressed anyone about anything, this was obviously a serious consideration. But also the fact that I said we, he and I, 2 friends who played jokes together, who had made a prank phone call and stood there giddy with laughter, who had to hold each other up to stop ourselves from collapsing when we heard the poor guy at the other end of the line wonder if it really was the devil making the call. "Hello?" The sound came from the telephone receiver. It was impossible to tell if it was a man or a woman, a grown-up or a child. Tom looked at me. I nodded eagerly, and he smiled. He smiled a kind of triumphant smile and raised the receiver to his...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?